Namaste and welcome to RIG History Extended. Today we embark on an extraordinary journey, a journey through the timeless history of Kashmir, from the sacred legends of Rishi Kashyap, who shaped this land, to the grandeur of Hindu kings like Lalitaditya, to the tragic betrayals of invasions, and finally to the proud reassertion of India's unity. Kashmir's story is one of resilience, heritage, and sacrifice. In this video, we will explore the real history of Kashmir, rooted deeply in Indian civilization, shaped by wisdom of sages, enriched by Sanskrit scholars, and defended through countless struggles. This is not just a history of land, it is a history of identity, belonging, and national pride. Join me as we uncover every chapter truthfully, factually, and with full respect to the spirit of Bharat. Let's begin. Dedicated to the eternal spirit of Kashmir and all its martyrs. Timeline of Kashmir, ancient to modern overview. Kashmir's history spans from mythological times to modern geopolitics, shaped by Hindu, Buddhist, Islamic, Sikh, and colonial influences. Ancient origins trace back to Rishi Kashyap draining the Satisar lake, creating the fertile Kashmir Valley. Incorporated into the Mauryan Empire under Ashok, Buddhism spread without replacing Hindu traditions. Hindu dynasties like the Karkotas and Loharas ruled Kashmir for centuries, producing scholars, temples, and a rich Sanskrit culture. Islamic rule began with Shah Mir's dynasty in 1339, followed by Mughal, Afghan, and Sikh periods, each leaving cultural imprints. The Dogra Hindu rulers unified Jammu, Kashmir, Ladakh, and Baltistan under one princely state by 1846. In 1947, Maharaja Hari Singh acceded into India after Pakistan backed tribal invasions, triggering Indo-Pak conflicts over Kashmir. Recent history includes terrorism, the displacement of Hindus, Pakistan's proxy wars, and abrogation of Article 370 in 2019. Rishi Kashyap and the origin of Kashmir. According to Hindu mythology, Kashmir was once a vast lake called Satisar, inhabited by demons. Sage Rishi Kashyap drained the lake by cutting open the mountains at Baramulla, creating fertile land. The Nilamata Purana and Kalhana's Rajatarangini record this sacred event, linking Kashmir deeply with Hindu traditions. After draining the lake, Kashyap invited learned Brahmins to settle, laying the foundation for Sanatana Dharma in the valley. Kashmir was thus named Kashyapamar or Kashyap Mir, meaning the land of Kashyap, later evolving into Kashmir. The origin story is not just mythology but a cultural assertion that Kashmir is a rishi created Hindu land. The reverence for natural elements like rivers and springs originates from this deeply religious beginning. Kashmir's spiritual aura as Rishi Bhumi, land of sages, remains rooted in its earliest Hindu foundations. The ancient name and etymology of Kashmir. The name Kashmir is derived from Sanskrit, ka meaning water and shimira to desiccate, meaning land dried from water. Early sources like the Mahabharata, Nilamata Purana, and Rajatarangini mention it as Kashmira. Kashyap's reclamation of the land gave it religious sanctity, making it sacred in Vedic traditions. Kashmir was often referred to as Sharada Peeth, linking it with goddess Saraswati and scholarship. The river Bitasta, modern Jhelum, is named in Vedic hymns, reinforcing Kashmir's Vedic association. Ancient Kashmir was renowned as Rishi Bhumi, a holy land where sages meditated and taught. The sanctification of every spring, river, and mountain tied the physical geography to Hindu spirituality. Kashmir's very name reflects its creation, myth, and its place within the broader Indian civilizational identity. Early Vedic and Mauryan period in Kashmir. Vedic literature, such as the Rig Veda, mentions the Bitasta river, showing Kashmir's place in early Hindu culture. The Mahabharata refers to Kashmir as a renowned region inhabited by learned Brahmins. By the 3rd century BC, Emperor Ashok incorporated Kashmir into the Mauryan Empire. Ashok founded Srinagari, modern Srinagar, and introduced Buddhism to the valley. Ashok's reign saw the construction of stupas and Buddhist establishments while Vedic traditions remained vibrant. His son Jaloka, according to Rajatarangini, reasserted Hindu dominance through Shaiva worship. The coexistence of Vedic and Buddhist elements marked Kashmir's early religious and cultural landscape. Kashmir emerged as a vibrant center of learning, combining spirituality, philosophy, and early urban development. Kashmir during Kushan and early Buddhist influence. During the 1st and 2nd century CE, Kashmir came under the Kushan Empire's influence. Emperor Kanishka convened the 4th Buddhist Council in Kashmir to compile authoritative Buddhist scriptures. Under Kanishka, Kashmir became a significant center for Mahayana Buddhist scholarship and missionary activities. Despite Buddhist growth, Hinduism continued to dominate the local culture and traditions. The Chinese pilgrim Xuanzang later praised Kashmir's extensive temples, monasteries, and saffron fields. Sanskrit learning thrived, with Kashmir producing scholars who contributed to Indian philosophy and arts. The valley symbolized a harmonious blend of Hinduism and Buddhism, enriching Indian civilization. Early Buddhist influence strengthened Kashmir's reputation as a sacred, learned, and cosmopolitan region. Rise of Hindu dynasties. After the Mauryan and Kushan periods, Kashmir saw the rise of indigenous Hindu dynasties. By 6th and 7th century CE, local Hindu rulers established stable governance in the valley. These dynasties strengthened Vedic traditions, Sanskrit learning, and temple architecture. The Karkota dynasty, established around 627 CE, marked the beginning of Kashmir's political golden age. Hindu kings unified the valley and resisted external threats from Central Asia. Kashmir became a renowned center for education, spirituality, and arts during this period. The dynasties maintained Kashmir's identity as a land of Hindu scholars and temples. This era laid the foundation for Kashmir's integration into India's larger civilizational sphere. The Karkota dynasty and Dullava Vardhana. The Karkota dynasty was founded by Dullava Vardhana, a powerful Hindu ruler. Dullava Vardhana consolidated fragmented regions and brought political stability to Kashmir. Under Karkota rule, Kashmir experienced economic prosperity and cultural flourishing. The dynasty promoted Shaivism, Vaishnavism, and patronized temples, building, and Sanskrit scholarship. Early Karkota rulers strengthened defenses against Huna and Central Asian invasions. Agriculture, trade, and crafts thrived, linking Kashmir to Central and South Asian trade routes. The Karkota dynasty inaugurated a period of monumental temple construction across the valley. Durlava Vardhana's successful reign paved the way for later expansion under Lalitaditya. King Lalitaditya Muktapida, empire builder. King Lalitaditya Muktapida ruled from 724 to 761 CE. He was the greatest Karkota monarch. He expanded Kashmir's influence across northern India and Central Asia. According to Rajatarangini, he defeated Turks, Tibetans, and even marched towards Kannauj. His empire possibly extended from Bay of Bengal to Afghanistan, though debated by historians. Lalitaditya is celebrated not just as a conqueror but as a patron of culture and religion. He maintained diplomatic relations with Tang China, showcasing Kashmir's global stature. His reign marked the zenith of Kashmir's political and military power. Lalitaditya is remembered as Kashmir's most illustrious and visionary ruler. Martand Sun Temple, symbol of Hindu Kashmir. King Lalitaditya commissioned the magnificent Martand Sun Temple at Anantnag. The temple was dedicated to the sun god Martanda and exemplified Kashmiri Hindu architecture. Built on a plateau, the temple features a grand sanctum surrounded by 84 smaller shrines. Its unique design blends Gandharan, Gupta, and local Kashmiri architectural styles. The temple's massive stone columns and intricate carvings symbolized royal devotion and power. Despite later destruction, the ruins of Martand still testify to ancient Kashmir's Hindu grandeur. The Martand Sun Temple is seen as a crown jewel of Kashmir's ancient Hindu heritage. It remains a proud symbol of civilizational achievements under Hindu dynastic rule. Expansion and achievements under Lalitaditya. Lalitaditya's conquests secured Kashmir's borders and expanded its cultural horizons. His military campaigns brought wealth, art, influences, and new trade opportunities to Kashmir. He initiated massive temple building projects across the valley, including lesser known shrines besides Martand. Lalitaditya promoted Sanskrit learning, commissioning religious texts and scholarly assemblies. Infrastructure like roads, bridges, and public works were improved under his reign. His reign integrated Kashmir more closely into the broader Indian political and spiritual landscape. Economic prosperity, administrative reforms, and religious tolerance characterized his governance. Lalitaditya's legacy is revered as a golden chapter in Kashmir's ancient history. Utpala dynasty and Avantivarman's reforms. After the decline of Karkotas, the Utpal dynasty rose to power in mid 9th century. Avantivarman ruled from 855 to 883 CE, was the most notable Utpala king, bringing stability and prosperity. He revived Kashmir's economy after political chaos through effective administration and public works. Avantivarman appointed the famous engineer Suya who improved irrigation and flood control of the Jhelum river. He founded the city of Avantipur and built grand temples dedicated to Vishnu and Shiva. Agriculture flourished under his reforms, boosting Kashmir's wealth and population. Avantivarman's era was marked by a cultural and architectural renaissance, restoring Kashmir's prestige. His reign laid the foundation for later intellectual and artistic achievements in Kashmir. Lohara dynasty and Queen Didda's rule. The Lohara dynasty succeeded the Utpalas, ruling Kashmir from 10th to 14th century. One of the most remarkable figures was Queen Didda, ruled from 980 to 1003 CE. Didda acted as regent for her son and grandson, later ruling independently with firm authority. Despite political instability, she maintained the kingdom's unity and suppressed rebellions effectively. Chroniclers describe her as shrewd, politically astute, and sometimes ruthless in her methods. Didda's reign symbolizes a rare example of a woman sovereign in medieval Indian polity. Under the Loharas, Kashmir continued its traditions of temple building, Sanskrit scholarship, and religious patronage. The dynasty's decline set the stage for political fragmentation, paving the way for later foreign incursions. Kashmir Shaivism and Sanskrit scholars. During the Hindu dynastic period, Kashmir became a major center for the development of Shaivism. Kashmir's Shaivism emphasized monistic philosophy, considering the entire universe as a manifestation of Shiva. Philosophers like Vasu Gupta, author of the Shiva Sutras, laid the foundation for this school. Abhinavagupta (950 to 1020 CE), a genius theologian, composed the Tantra Loka, synthesizing the Shaiva Shakta and Buddhist ideas. Sanskrit scholarship thrived, producing poets, philosophers, historians, and dramatists of high repute. Kashmir became renowned for its intellectual vibrancy, earning comparisons to Nalanda and Takshashila. The region's scholars contributed to fields like aesthetics, rasa theory, metaphysics, and linguistics. This intellectual flowering reinforced Kashmir's status as a beacon of Hindu philosophical thought. Kalhana and Rajatarangini. Kalhana, a 12th century Kashmiri Brahmin, authored the Rajatarangini, River of Kings. It is regarded as India's first historical chronicle written with a critical and systematic approach. Kalhana meticulously documented Kashmir's rulers from mythical times to his own era using earlier records and oral traditions. Unlike earlier, purely religious texts, Rajatarangini presents political events, wars, and royal personalities with analysis. His work reflects a deep sense of patriotism, lamenting the decline of dharma and political ethics. Kalhana combined poetry and history, making his chronicle a literary and historical masterpiece. The Rajatarangini set the tradition for later continuations by historians like Jona Raja and Srivara. Through Kalhana's work, modern scholars gain invaluable insights into Kashmir's ancient Hindu governance and society. Decline of Hindu kingship and Kota Rani. By the early 14th century, Kashmir's Hindu Lohara dynasty was weakened by internal strife. Queen Kota Rani, wife of the last Hindu king Udayanadeva, ruled Kashmir with remarkable skill. She defended the kingdom against external threats and local rebellions during a turbulent period. Kota Rani built infrastructure like the Kute Kol Canal to prevent floods in Srinagar. Despite her efforts, political instability and Muslim influences were growing stronger. After Kota Rani's death in 1339, Hindu rule effectively ended in Kashmir. Her demise symbolized the fall of nearly 2000 years of unbroken Hindu kingship. The transition opened the gates for the establishment of Muslim rule under Shah Mir. Shah Mir's rise and the beginning of Muslim rule. Shah Mir, a Muslim noble of foreign origin, rose to prominence in Kashmir during Kota Rani's reign. After her death, Shah Mir seized power and founded the Shah Mir dynasty in 1339. He became the first Muslim Sultan of Kashmir, marking a major civilizational shift. Shah Mir consolidated his position through strategic alliances and administrative reforms. His rule established Islam as a political force in the valley for the first time. Though early on relatively tolerant, the long term impact included gradual Islamization of Kashmir. Shah Mir's coronation symbolized the end of indigenous Hindu sovereignty in Kashmir's history. This initiated nearly 5 centuries of Muslim rule, altering the valley's demographics and culture. Early Muslim sultans. The early Shah Mir sultans ruled Kashmir from 1339 to the late 14th century. They sought to stabilize governance while slowly expanding Islamic influence over society. While initial sultans like Shamsuddin and Jamshid adopted pragmatic policies, tensions remained. Gradual Islamization of administration, culture, and social customs began under these rulers. Many Hindu subjects converted either voluntarily or under socio-economic pressures. Although some religious tolerance was maintained, seeds of communal transformation were shown. Early Muslim rulers continued patronage to local crafts and learning traditions to gain legitimacy. The full religious transformation accelerated during the later phase under Sikandar Bhutshikan. Sultan Sikandar Bhutshikan and the destruction of temples. Sikandar Shah Miri ruled 1389 to 1413 CE, known as Sikandar Bhutshikan. iconoclast, ruled with religious intolerance. He imposed Islamic law rigidly, banned Hindu practices, and levied heavy jizya on non Muslims. Sikandar is infamous for systematically destroying Hindu temples, including the majestic Martand Sun temple. Many Hindus were forced to convert to Islam, flee Kashmir, or suffer persecution. His reign led to mass conversion of Kashmiri population, changing the valley's demography. Ancient Kashmiri Hindu culture and temple architecture suffered irreversible damage. Chroniclers across traditions, including Muslim historians, recorded Sikandar's religious zealotry. His policies mark one of the darkest chapters in Kashmir's civilizational history. Sultan Zain ul Abidin Zain ul Abidin ruled 1420 to 1470 CE. Sikandar's grandson reversed many oppressive policies. Known as Buddh Shah, the Great King, he promoted religious tolerance and cultural revival. Zain ul Abidin invited exiled Hindus back and restored desecrated temples wherever possible. He patronized Sanskrit learning, translated Sanskrit texts into Persian, and encouraged Sufi practices. He abolished jizya and respected Hindu traditions, protecting local shrines and festivals. Economically, he revived crafts like shawl weaving, paper mache, and carpet making. Under him, Kashmir flourished artistically, spiritually, and politically, reaching a new cultural zenith. Zain ul Abidin is fondly remembered for fostering a syncretic, inclusive Kashmiriyat. Cultural flourishing under Zain ul Abidin. Sultan Zain ul Abidin Butt Shah ushered a golden era of religious tolerance in Kashmir. He reinstated Hindus in government service and restored temples damaged earlier. Sanskrit texts were translated into Persian, literary and philosophical activities revived. Industries like shawl weaving, carpet making, and paper mache flourished under royal patronage. Zain ul Abidin prohibited cow slaughter to respect Hindu sentiments, promoting communal harmony. He encouraged Sufism, blending local spiritual traditions with Islamic teachings. His policies strengthened Kashmir's cultural identity and economic prosperity. Zain ul Abidin remains celebrated as just, wise, and inclusive ruler in Kashmiri memory. Mughal conquest under Akbar. In 1586, the Mughal Emperor Akbar annexed Kashmir into his expanding empire. Kashmir's last independent sultan, Yusuf Shah Chak, was deposed through political strategy. Akbar's conquest ended Kashmir's local sovereignty and brought it under centralized Mughal rule. The region became a Mughal province governed by imperial administrators from Delhi. Akbar promoted relative religious tolerance, respecting local customs and maintaining peace. Integration into Mughal empire linked Kashmir more closely to India's broader political economy. Mughal annexation initiated infrastructural improvements and new trade networks. Though politically subdued, Kashmir retained cultural vibrancy under early Mughal rulers. Mughal gardens, economy, and society. Mughal rulers, particularly Jahangir, fell in love with Kashmir's natural beauty. They built stunning gardens like the Shalimar Bagh, Nisat Bagh, and Chashme Shahi. Kashmir's economy was revitalized through improved agriculture, silk, and fruit cultivation. Persianate culture influenced Kashmiri architecture, crafts, and administrative practices. While Islam remained dominant, Hindu and Buddhist communities continued to coexist. Mughal governance maintained relative peace but imposed high taxation. Kashmir became a famed retreat for Mughal nobility, enhancing its prestige. The period saw artistic blending of Persian, Central Asian, and local traditions. Afghan rule, a period of tyranny. After the Mughal decline, Kashmir fell under Afghan Durrani rule in 1752 CE. Afghan governance treated Kashmir as a conquered province, plundering its wealth. Heavy taxation and brutal oppression devastated the local population, both Muslims and Hindus. Afghan officials committed atrocities like blinding artisans and persecuting non compliant communities. Cultural activities declined sharply, and temples and shrines were neglected or destroyed. The general populace lived in fear, many Kashmiris fled or perished under Afghan misrule. Even Islamic Sufi traditions suffered under the harsh Afghan administrative system. Afghan's rule is remembered as one of the darkest, most tyrannical eras in Kashmir's history. Life under Afghan provinces. Afghan governors ruled Kashmir from Kabul, seeing it purely as a source of revenue. They extorted heavy taxes from peasants and artisans, crippling the economy. Prominent Afghan officials included brutal figures like Abdullah Khan and Amir Khan Jawansher. Mass migrations occurred as Kashmiris sought refuge from relentless oppression. Local crafts, agriculture, and trade industries collapsed under burdensome levies. Hindu Pandits faced discrimination and were often forced to flee to safer regions. Social services and religious patronage declined dramatically, increasing Kashmir's cultural isolation. The people longed for liberation from Afghan tyranny, paving the way for Sikh intervention. Sikh liberation of Kashmir under Ranjit Singh. In 1819, Maharaja Ranjit Singh's Sikh Empire defeated the Afghan rulers of Kashmir. General Diwan Chand led the Sikh forces that liberated Srinagar after a decisive battle. The end of Afghan rule was welcomed by Kashmiris across religious lines. Sikhs restored some order, though their rule was martial and tax heavy. Hindu Pandits regained safety and limited religious freedoms under Sikh protection. The capture of Kashmir expanded Ranjit Singh's empire into the northern frontier. Sikh rule reconnected Kashmir with Punjab, heartland, after decades of Afghan isolation. Kashmir experienced relative stability, though certain restrictions like mosque controls persisted. Sikh administration and policies. Kashmir under Sikh rule 1819 to 1846 was administered through appointed governors. Sikhs imposed jizya like taxes on Muslims but allowed Hindus to revive temples. Muslim call to prayer, azan, was restricted, though general religious life was tolerated. Administrative reforms focused on maintaining law and order, not fostering culture. Trade routes were restored, allowing limited economic recovery in agriculture and handicrafts. The Sikh administration demanded loyalty and tribute from local chiefs and elites. Despite rigid control, the Sikhs are remembered as less oppressive than Afghans. Their tenure ended with the British conquest after the First Anglo-Sikh War. Treaty of Amritsar. After the First Anglo-Sikh War, 1846, the British sold Kashmir to Raja Gulab Singh. The Treaty of Amritsar, 16th March 1846, formalized Gulab Singh's purchase for 7.5 million rupees. Gulab Singh became the Maharaja of Jammu and Kashmir, founding the Dogra dynasty. The treaty legitimized Dogra rule over Kashmir, Ladakh, Baltistan, and surrounding regions. Kashmir became a princely state under British paramountcy but with internal autonomy. Gulab Singh's reign marked the beginning of modern political boundaries for Kashmir. The treaty laid the foundation for later accession of Kashmir to India. It established Jammu and Kashmir as a composite multi-ethnic kingdom under Hindu Dogras. Expansion of Dogra Kingdom. Maharaja Gulab Singh and his generals expanded Dogra territory aggressively. Ladakh was annexed through Zorawar Singh's campaigns in the early 1840s. Baltistan and parts of Gilgit were incorporated into the princely state. Jammu, Kashmir Valley, Ladakh, and Gilgit Baltistan formed a vast northern dominion. Dogra rule created the political unit still referred to in modern territorial claims. The expansion consolidated Hindu Dogra authority over a multi-religious population. Administrative structures, taxation systems, and military outposts were set up in the frontier regions. Gulab Singh's strategic conquest reinforced Kashmir's importance in Himalayan geopolitics. Maharaja Ranbir Singh and Pratap Singh. Ranbir Singh, 1857 to 1885, succeeded Gulab Singh and continued administrative reforms. He introduced the Ranbir Penal Code, mirroring the Indian Penal Code with local adaptations. Ranbir Singh expanded educational institutions and Sanskrit scholarship in Jammu. His son Pratap Singh (1885 to 1925) further modernized Kashmir's infrastructure. Pratap Singh built the Jhelum Valley Road, improving connectivity across the kingdom. British influence grew during Pratap Singh's reign through the appointment of a British resident. Both rulers maintained Hindu dominance while allowing religious coexistence. Their reign solidified Dogra authority, though rural discontent among the Muslims shimmered. Jammu and Kashmir's modernization. The Dogra rulers initiated modernization efforts in administration, education, and communication. School, postal services, telegraphs, and modern courts were introduced. Road networks linked Srinagar to Jammu and farther south to the Indian plains. Agricultural reforms were slow and rural Muslim peasants remained heavily taxed. Despite partial reforms, a semi-feudal structure persisted in village life. Urban centers like Srinagar saw the rise of small educated elite. Hindu temples were renovated and religious endowments were institutionalized. Modernization mainly benefited elites, creating socio-economic gaps between classes and communities. Hari Singh Maharaja Hari Singh was the last ruling monarch of Jammu and Kashmir. Educated in British India, he envisioned modernization and social reforms. Hari Singh abolished untouchability and opened temples to Dalits in 1931. He pursued administrative improvements but maintained autocratic governance. Growing dissatisfaction, particularly among Muslims, surfaced against Dogra rule. Hari Singh aimed to keep Jammu and Kashmir an independent princely state post 1947. However, rising communal tensions and external threats complicated his plans. Hari Singh's reign ended with Kashmir's accession into India amidst invasion threats. Rise of political movements. Sheikh Muhammad Abdullah emerged as a key political figure in 1930s Kashmir. He founded the All Jammu and Kashmir Muslim Conference in 1932 to voice Muslim grievances. In 1939, it was renamed as National Conference, adopting a secular nationalist agenda. Sheikh Abdullah demanded civil rights, land reforms, and end to feudal oppression. He allied with Indian leaders like Nehru, emphasizing secularism over communalism. Abdullah's popularity made him a representative of Kashmiri masses' aspirations. His movement laid the groundwork for future political dynamics in Kashmir. Tensions between National Conference and the Dogra monarchy steadily escalated. Kashmir on the eve of partition. In 1947, British India's partition forced princely states to choose India or Pakistan. Maharaja Hari Singh delayed accession, claiming for Kashmir's independence. Pakistan encouraged revolts in Poonch and backed tribal raiders for an invasion. Communal violence began to spread across border areas of Jammu and Kashmir. Kashmir's Muslim majority complicated political choices, but many favored secular India. The Maharaja's indecision and Pakistan's aggression pushed Kashmir into crisis. On 22nd October 1947, Pakistan backed forces invaded Kashmir, triggering urgent action. These events set the stage for Kashmir's historic accession into India later that year. Tribal invasion of 1947, Pakistan's betrayal. On 22nd October 1947, Pakistan launched a covert invasion of Kashmir using the Pashtun tribal militias. The raiders looted, killed, and committed atrocities in Baramulla, targeting Hindus, Sikhs, and even nuns. Around 11,000 people were massacred in Baramulla, creating terror across the valley. Pakistan's aim was to forcibly annex Kashmir before Maharaja Hari Singh could decide. The invasion was blatant violation of the principle of non-interference in princely states. Srinagar was on the verge of falling when Maharaja sought Indian military help. Pakistan's betrayal directly triggered Kashmir's accession into India. The brutalities exposed Pakistan's aggressive intentions towards Kashmir from the beginning. Instrument of accession to India. Facing Pakistani aggression, Maharaja Hari Singh signed the Instrument of Accession on 26 October 1947. The instrument legally transferred Kashmir's control over defense, foreign affairs, and communication to India. India accepted the accession the next day. Mountbatten formally ratified it on 27 October. The accession was unconditional and final, like that of the other 560 princely states. Indian troops were immediately airlifted to Srinagar to repel the tribal invaders. The instrument became the fundamental legal basis for India's sovereignty over Jammu and Kashmir. Pakistan's illegal invasion made Kashmir's ascension to India inevitable and justified. The move preserved Kashmir's secular identity against Pakistan's communal designs. India's defense of Kashmir, the 1947 to 1948 war. Indian Army's arrival in Srinagar turned the tide against Pakistani raiders. Fierce battles were fought at places like Baramulla, Badgam, and Uri to secure the valley. Indian forces successfully defended Srinagar airport, crucial for logistics and reinforcements. Locals like Makbul Sherwani played heroic roles, delaying the raiders at great personal cost. India gradually pushed back invaders but faced regular Pakistani army involvement by mid 1948. War spread to Jammu and western Kashmir with brutal communal violence on both sides. Indian forces secured key areas, but the mountainous terrain complicated operations. The war intensely led India to seek international mediation through the United Nations. Creation of Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Despite Indian advances, Pakistan managed to hold parts of western Kashmir. The area captured included Mirpur, Muzaffarabad, and parts of Gilgit Baltistan. Pakistan declared these regions as Azad Kashmir, though Islamabad retained real control. Gilgit Baltistan was directly administered by Pakistan without granting full constitutional rights. The division of Kashmir created a de facto partition along the conflict front. Tens of thousands of Hindus and Sikhs were ethnically cleansed from the POK territories. POK remains a disputed territory under illegal Pakistani occupation till today. India's consistent position is that the entire Jammu and Kashmir, including POK, legally belongs to India. UN resolutions and line of control. India referred the Kashmir issue to the United Nations on 1st January 1948. UN resolution August 13, 1948 called for Pakistan's withdrawal first and then a plebiscite. Pakistan never fully withdrew, violating the precondition for any plebiscite. A UN mediated ceasefire was declared on 1st January 1949, freezing military positions. The ceasefire line, later the line of control, divided Indian and Pakistani held areas. India retained Kashmir Valley, Jammu, and Ladakh. Pakistan held parts of western Kashmir. The UN recognized Kashmir's accession as legitimate, subject to Pakistan fulfilling conditions. The plebiscite could not happen because Pakistan refused to vacate occupied territories. Consolidation of Jammu and Kashmir within India. Post ceasefire, India worked to integrate Jammu and Kashmir politically and administratively. In 1949, Jammu and Kashmir was granted special status under Article 370 of India's constitution. A constituent assembly was elected in Jammu and Kashmir in 1951 to frame its own constitution. In 1956, Jammu Kashmir's constitutions ratified Kashmir's accession to India permanently. Fundamental rights, judiciary, and Indian citizenship were extended to Jammu and Kashmir citizens. Indian institutions like the Supreme Court and Election Commission gained jurisdiction. Consolidation efforts strengthened Kashmir's connection with the Indian Union. Despite conflict, India maintained continuous sovereignty and democratic governance in Jammu and Kashmir. Pakistan's wars and proxy wars. After 1947, Pakistan repeatedly attempted to seize Kashmir through direct wars and proxy terrorism. Pakistan initiated full scale wars in 1947, 1965, 1971, and 1999 Kargil conflict. Militarily defeated in direct wars, Pakistan shifted to training and funding Islamist militants. Terrorist groups like the Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed were supported to destabilize Kashmir. Pakistan used radicalized youth to launch violent insurgencies inside Jammu and Kashmir. Cross border terrorism became an official Pakistani policy, using Kashmir as an excuse. Thousands of innocent civilians, including Hindus, Sikhs, and moderate Muslims, suffered due to Pakistan's proxy war. International exposure of Pakistan's terror networks isolated it diplomatically, but the damage to Kashmir was severe. 1965 and 1971 wars. Pakistan's failures. In 1965, Pakistan launched Operation Gibraltar, sending infiltrators to foment rebellion in Kashmir. Local Kashmiris did not support the invaders, and India launched a strong military counter-attack. The Indian army captured key territories in Kashmir and Punjab before the Tashkent Agreement ended the war. Pakistan failed to internationalize the Kashmir issue as it had hoped. In 1971, Pakistan again lost disastrously against India when India intervened in East Pakistan Bangladesh Liberation War. Pakistan's defeat in 1971 further weakened its claims and credibility regarding Kashmir. The Shimla Agreement 1972 reaffirmed that Kashmir is a bilateral issue between India and Pakistan. Despite repeated military failures, Pakistan continued its efforts to destabilize Kashmir through terrorism. Rise of militancy in Kashmir 1989 onwards. In 1989, Pakistan intensified its proxy war by arming and infiltrating terrorists into Kashmir. Islamist groups launched attacks against government officials, security forces, and civilians. Radical slogans like Nizam-e Mustafa replaced the earlier secular fabric of Kashmiri society. Pakistan's ISI supported groups like Hizbul Mujahideen, Lashkar-e-Taiba, and later Jaish-e-Mohammed. Targeted killings of Hindu Pandits, moderate Muslims, and pro-India activists began systematically. Militancy transformed Kashmir from a peaceful land into a battleground of terror and fear. Schools, businesses, and tourism industries collapsed under the pressure of violence. Pakistan's proxy war caused immense human, social, and economic destruction in the valley. Exodus of Kashmiri Pandits. In early 1990, Islamist militants launched a brutal campaign against the Kashmiri Pandit community. Pandits were issued threats to convert, flee, or face death. Mass killings occurred in Anantnag, Srinagar, and other areas. Temples were desecrated, women faced atrocities, and properties were seized illegally. Over 350,000 Kashmiri Pandits were forced to flee their ancestral homeland. Most Pandits took refuge in miserable conditions in camps around Jammu and Delhi. Exodus decimated a 5,000-year-old indigenous Hindu community of Kashmir. Pakistan sponsored terrorism aimed to erase the Hindu cultural imprint from Kashmir. The tragedy remains a scar on India's secular and humanitarian values even today. Kargil War, Pakistan's betrayal again. In 1999, Pakistan Army secretly occupied Indian positions in Kargil during peacetime. Pakistani soldiers and terrorists, disguised as militants, infiltrated across the line of control. India launched Operation Vijay to evict the intruders from Kargil peaks. The Indian Army fought a heroic battle at extreme altitudes and harsh conditions. Pakistan's political leadership denied involvement but was exposed internationally. India reclaimed all occupied positions and Pakistan faced diplomatic humiliation. Over 500 Indian soldiers sacrificed their lives defending the nation's sovereignty. Kargil war again proved Pakistan's duplicity and relentless aggression towards Kashmir and India. Terrorism and Kashmir's economic ruin. Continuous terrorism devastated Kashmir's tourism industry, once a major economic pillar. Hotels, handicrafts, orchards, and trade faced massive losses due to instability and fear. Thousands of families lost livelihoods as tourists avoided conflict prone areas. Infrastructure suffered frequent damages from bombings, curfews, and military operations. Education was disrupted as schools were attacked or occupied by militants. Fear and radicalization alienated Kashmiris from broader economic opportunities. The once vibrant, prosperous valley became trapped in cycles of violence and unemployment. Pakistan's proxy war turned Kashmir's heavenly landscape into land of shattered dreams. Article 370 Origins and Problems. Article 370 was incorporated into India's constitution in 1949 to grant special status to Jammu and Kashmir. It restricted the Indian Parliament's power to legislate on matters beyond defense, foreign affairs, and communications. Temporary in nature, it was meant to integrate Jammu and Kashmir slowly into Indian Union. Over time, it fostered separatism, political corruption, and alienation within the valley. It prevented full application of Indian laws like RTI, anti corruption laws, and reservations for disadvantaged groups. Successive governments misused Article 370 to shield the valley from progressive reforms. The provision hampered socio-economic development and fueled the false narrative of Kashmiri exceptionalism. Instead of fostering integration, Article 370 delayed Jammu and Kashmir's full assimilation into India. Discrimination under Article 35A. Article 35A, inserted secretly into constitution in 1954, compounded Kashmir's isolation. It empowered the Jammu and Kashmir government to define permanent residence and deny rights to others. Non-resident Indians could not own land, settle, or access public sector jobs in Kashmir. Women who married non-Kashmiris lost inheritance rights, violating gender equality. Refugees from 1947 partition living in Jammu were denied citizenship and basic rights. Dalits employed as sanitation workers had no voting rights in local elections. Article 35A institutionalized discrimination against Hindus, Sikhs, women, and marginalized communities. It entrenched a feudal exclusionary structure incompatible with India's democratic principles. Abrogation of Article 370, 5th August 2019. On 5th August 2019, the Government of India abrogated Article 370, ending Jammu Kashmir's special status. The move revoked discriminatory provisions and fully integrated Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh into India. Article 35A was simultaneously nullified, restoring equality for all citizens across Jammu and Kashmir. The decision bifurcated the state into two union territories, Jammu Kashmir and Ladakh. The abrogation fulfilled a long standing national demand for Kashmir's complete integration. It broke the political monopoly of a few dynastic families over Kashmir's governance. Contrary to alarmist fears, no major unrest occurred after the move. The historic decision reaffirmed Kashmir's place as an inseparable part of India. Constitutional process and legal validation. The abrogation followed strict constitutional procedures under Article 370. Presidential orders reinterpreted Article 370 to make it redundant, backed by parliamentary resolutions. The Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act 2019 was passed by both houses of parliament. India's Supreme Court later upheld the abrogation as legal and constitutional. The process respected India's sovereignty and democratic norms fully. Global reactions were largely muted, and Pakistan's propaganda failed internationally. The abrogation corrected historical anomalies without violating any international or bilateral treaties. Constitutional and democratic mechanisms ensured that Kashmir's integration was lawful and irreversible. Post 370 changes, peace and development. After August 2019, Kashmir saw a dramatic decline in terrorism, stone pelting, and separatist activities. Panchayat elections were conducted peacefully, empowering grassroots democracy. Infrastructure projects like highways, railways, and power plants accelerated development. Investment summits were launched to boost industries and tourism in Jammu Kashmir and Ladakh. Education and health sectors received special focus, improving facilities across remote regions. New laws protecting women's rights, SC/ST rights, and anti-corruption measures were implemented. Young Kashmiris increasingly participated in national programs like sports, scholarships, and startups. The region is now moving from conflict to prosperity under a stable security environment. National unity and integration of Kashmir. The removal of Article 370 ended the psychological and legal barrier separating Kashmir from India. Common citizenship rights, labor laws, and minority protections now apply equally in Jammu and Kashmir. People from across India can settle, invest, and contribute to Kashmir's growth. Cultural exchanges, sports tournaments, and tourism have connected Kashmiris with fellow Indians. National flag hoisting events are now common across every district of Jammu and Kashmir. Terrorist incidents have dropped significantly, enhancing public confidence and mobility. Youth engagement through education, employment, and entrepreneurship has increased. Kashmir's full integration reinforces India's unity, diversity, and democratic spirit. Kashmir's historical belonging to India. Ancient texts like Mahabharata and Nilamata Purana record Kashmir's deep ties with Indian civilization. Hindu kings like Lalitaditya, Avantivarman, and rulers of Lohara dynasty shaped Kashmir's identity. Buddhist councils under Emperor Ashok and Kanishka strengthened Kashmir's spiritual links to India. Kashmir produced Sanskrit scholars, poets, and saints who contributed richly to Indian philosophy. Despite foreign invasions, Kashmir remained a part of Indian cultural and spiritual landscape. Accession in 1947 legally reaffirmed this historical civilizational belonging. No external force can erase Kashmir's identity as an integral, sacred part of India. Kashmir's destiny has always been and remains tied inseparably to Bharat. Kashmir today, a journey completed. Today's Kashmir is witnessing peace, development, and hopeful youth after decades of turmoil. Tourism has revived, breaking previous records for arrivals post 2019. New startups, handicrafts, industries, and IT investments are creating jobs. Women's participation in public life and education has surged remarkably. Infrastructure projects like Jojila Tunnel and AIMS Srinagar symbolize Kashmir's modernization. Radical separatism has declined sharply, replaced by aspirations for a better future. Jammu, Kashmir, and Ladakh are now active contributors to India's growth story. Kashmir's historic journey from Rishis to modern India has finally come full circle. As we conclude this journey through Kashmir's long and sacred history, we must pause and remember history is not just about the past, it lives on in the sacrifices and struggles that we witness even today. We offer our deepest condolences to the innocent souls who lost their lives in the recent terrorist attack in Pahalgam. Our thoughts and prayers are with their families and with every citizen who stands for peace, unity, and humanity. Kashmir has always been and will always remain an integral part of India's soul, a land born of rishis, nurtured by kings, and defended by generations of brave hearts. I hope today's video has brought you closer to understanding the real essence of Kashmir, its pain, its pride, and its unbreakable bond with Bharat. Your love, your support, and your blessings are what inspire this channel to continue bringing history alive with truth and integrity. Jai Hind.